Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Latham. Just so proud of my former law firm. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for supporting our work, whether this is your first event or you've lost count over the last 2 decades and how many you've attended. Thank you for believing in us, because as proud as I am of our team for everything we've done in 20 years, it's really the collective we, everyone in this room, our board members, our volunteers, our donors and sponsors, our members, who should be proud tonight. Together, look at what we've accomplished. Almost 2 decades ago, Equality California's fledgling board of directors and staff, a group of committed activists, gathered in a room and charted out a path to achieve marriage equality and comprehensive civil rights protections in California in 10 years. That was their goal. Let's do it in 10 years. People thought they were crazy. The national organizations thought that we were too ambitious, that it was too fast, that we'd cause a backlash. But let me be clear, it was Equality California who made the decision to launch the fight for marriage equality almost 20 years ago. And it was that courage of those who preceded me, that conviction combined with your generous support, that made it happen. It was the courage and your support that allowed Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon to marry in February 2004, and that let them marry once again on June 16th, 2008, after Equality California sued the state of California in the in re marriage cases, and we won. It was that courage and your support that allows Hillary and Jeff Whittington to send their transgender son Rylan to school every day, knowing that California state law protects him, not those who would discriminate against him. It was your courage and your support that made California the first state in the nation to protect the LGBTQ youth from so-called conversion therapy, and that sparked a nationwide movement. That sparked a nationwide movement to end these dangerous practices, and it started here with an Equality California sponsored bill. And it was that courage and your support that allowed non-binary Californians, like tonight's honoree Jill Soloway, to go to the DMV this year and update their gender marker to accurately reflect their identity. All of these laws were ones sponsored by Equality California, working with folks like Senator Scott Wiener and Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara and State Superintendent Tony Thurman and Assembly Member Evan Lowe and so many others who are here with us tonight. Yeah, there were challenges and there were setbacks along the way. You know, the road to equality is a bumpy one with plenty of twists and turns, sometimes bumpier than we'd like to admit. After all, look at what we're dealing with now. What Nick went through just trying to serve his country. What we've all been dealing with since September 6, 2016. Yes, we face threats from the White House and an administration that's hell-bent on rolling back the progress we've achieved. But at every turn, we keep moving forward because we in California have a special role in leading this movement and doing so boldly. As my friend Congressman Mark Takano likes to say, we're here, we're queer, and we're Californians. We cannot and we will not rest knowing that members of our community or the diverse communities to which we belong don't have full lived equality. We will not rest as long as Nick is forced to choose between his dream of serving in the military and living his life openly and authentically. We will not rest knowing that children and teachers in our schools, our transgender friends and family members, communities of color and immigrant communities are told by Mitch McConnell that their lives are not worth the political headache of taking action to keep them safe. That's why we worked with Assemblymember Lowe to pass a law last year mandating cultural competency training for all law enforcement in California. It's why we worked this year with State Superintendent Tony Thurmond to pass a law to give public school teachers the tools and training they need to support LGBTQ students in our schools, and why we launched our Safe and Supportive Schools report card. We will not rest knowing that Priscilla, a transgender woman from El Salvador who I met in Mexico earlier this year, lives in fear every day just miles from our border, but denied safe haven by our government. We will not rest knowing that 4 out of 10 homeless youth in California are LGBTQ, or that LGBTQ people in the Central Valley or in the Inland Empire don't have access to life-saving HIV prevention medication. That's why we worked with Senator Wiener to pass legislation allowing Californians to obtain PrEP and PEP from a pharmacist without a physician's prescription, and it's on the governor's desk. And we'll continue to lead by putting a spotlight on the issues that others don't often focus on. We sometimes forget in the bastions of West Hollywood or downtown Los Angeles the struggles that others go through. That's not to say that we don't have our own struggles here. Obviously, homelessness and violence against transgender women and people of color and lack of access to affordable health care are things that we all experience. There's work to be done here, absolutely. But sometimes we forget the individual struggles that a young man in South Bend, Indiana might be going through, or the struggles of a transgender asylum seeker in Tijuana, Mexico. That work is not done. It's not done here. It's not done in rural California or in parts of Orange County or in Nevada, where we just launched our new program, Silver State Equality. It's not done in communities across the country and around the world. Still, with so much work ahead of us, I have hope. I have hope because cynics said that a gay man from East Los Angeles, the son of undocumented immigrants from Mexico, couldn't win his race to represent 40 million people in the world's 5th largest economy until Ricardo Lada did. The pundits and the posters said America isn't ready for an LGBTQ person or a woman to be president, but now an openly gay man and a half-black, half-Indian daughter of California are top contenders to do just that. The cynics said that we couldn't end HIV in my lifetime. And while the President of the United States might not be serious about doing it in the next 10 years, we are. They can call it a moonshot, and maybe it is, but we're halfway to the moon, and the science is clear, and we've got plenty of fuel in the tank. We know how to get it done, and we, Californians, have the courage and the conviction and the will to do it. You know, I have twin boys. Their names are Ryan and Rafa. They're 10. And they came home from school a few months ago, and they were complaining. Their homework was stupid. The school was stupid. The fact that they weren't allowed to talk about Donald Trump in their classroom was stupid. And I looked at them, and honestly, I was a little bit surprised. I turned to them and I said, Rafa, Ryan, we're not a family of complainers. If you don't like something, go do something about it. Well, the next thing, we're being called by their principal's office because Ryan and Rafa decided that they were going to circulate a petition. And when they didn't get what they demanded, they decided that they wanted to organize a walkout of their 4th grade class. half of me was thinking, this isn't really what I had in mind when I said go do something about it. But the other half of me was filled with pride. And, when they complained later on that they were punished for fighting back against what they perceived to be super extreme injustice. And after explaining that it doesn't quite work that way in school, I explained to them that most people are punished for fighting injustice, and that during the civil rights movement, the freedom fighters who marched on Selma were beaten and jailed, and even worse. And Dr. King said, freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Or as Speaker Pelosi says, no one gives you power, you have to take it from them. So I have hope for our future, so much hope for the next 20 years and beyond. Because like our fledgling board that made that decision to fight for marriage equality 20 years ago, I know that the next generation of leaders, many of whom are here in this room, are unafraid, unjaded, and they don't give a damn what the cynics have to say. So let's make a toast to them, to all of you, and to us collectively, to 20 years leading the Golden State's fight for LGBTQ civil rights and social justice, and to the next 20 years of striving to create a world that is healthy, just, and fully equal for all LGBTQ people until the work is done. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. Thank you. Good night.